presentations and delegations. We have a delegation, Thompson 2020, with project managers Tim Gibson and Harold Smith, and our Economic Development Officer, Keisha Davis. If you could please come forward to the delegation table. And we have a full agenda, so we're going to limit you to 10 minutes. Harold?
Message received. How do I make this so it presents now? And up, how I can get it up there? Oh, I'm guessing it's this one right here.
I help you out.
Yep, there we are. All right, thanks very much for allowing Thompson 2020 to come forward again and give you an update. I'm Harold Smith, project manager with Thompson 2020. I'm joined by Keisha Davis, economic development officer with the City of Thompson, and my colleague Tim Gibson as project manager as well. There we are. So we've changed up our presentation. Rather than focusing on the individual projects, our presentations are now taking the form of some different themes that cross all the different projects. One of the big ones is community engagement, and we've got several different areas where we're doing community engagement. I know that we can improve our communication with the community. We're always looking for ideas in that regard. A couple things that we've done since we met last time was the Thompson2020.ca website, Facebook presence and page, bi-monthly newsletter, presentations to City Council, but also to other organizations, and committee meetings. We now, under each of our projects, we've established a committee of citizens who have come forward, answered our call from earlier presentations, and are volunteering to act as a focus group and our sounding board. Another one is we've got under engagement. Here's a sample of our latest newsletter in April, as well as a sample of one of the job fairs. And Tim will talk some more about the job fairs next.
Can you back up?
Sure.
Just to talk a little bit about the job fair, and firstly, it's great to be here. We don't get here enough. Also, it's been about a year, so it's my pleasure to talk about some results, some of the things we've delivered on. And one of the things that we were tasked right up front was to get out in front of the Valley affected workers and help the workforce adjustment department work with Valley employees as well as contractors that were affected by decisions. So we held our first job fair in February, and then the second one was in May, and we have a third one scheduled for the first week of September. So next slide. First one was in the campus at UCN. UCN has been a partner of Thompson 2020 right up front. They made it very well known, and we got a lot of good support from them, and we've been partnering basically with them right from the beginning. First job fair, we had some 20 plus employers. Hard to say how many people got through the second or came through the 2 days that we ran it. The second job fair, we had 400 job seekers come in the 2 days that we were actively engaging in the community. Next slide. This was Keisha.
Okay, so continuing on engagement of residents, we've for the past few months been carrying out a community amenities survey, and so far we've actually gotten over 400 responses to this survey. And just to for those who don't know what the survey is about, it's just to assess communities' take on what they consider when they're deciding whether or not to remain in Thompson, what needs to be improved and what's good in Thompson. So so far we've had over 400 responses to this survey online. We've conducted 6 focus groups with various community organizations, including Mama We Talk, Thompson Seniors Community, UCN, and some others, Chamber, and so on. Where we are at now in terms of that collection of data is that I'm actually conducting one-on-one interviews with some key community stakeholders and just general community members who have previously expressed interest in kind of communicating their own take on what is happening. So we want to incorporate that aspect in the final analysis. I've already started looking at the data that we've collected so far, and the intent is to put forward several recommendations by the end of summer. So far, in terms of some of the themes that are coming forward, we're seeing public safety. People are saying that public safety is an issue just in terms of the homelessness conditions that we see every day. Healthcare is an issue in terms of wait time and so on at the hospital. Just overall affordability, cost of products, goods and services, housing, so on. But the intent here is to look at what those issues are, and not only the issues, but look at the good things that are also happening in Thompson. Communicate both message to the public, and also to identify champions who can move forward with some strategies that we will put forward in terms of mitigating some of the issues that we're identifying. So that's where that's at right now.
Thanks, Keisha. I think that's Tim next. Tim?
No, how much you?
So another project that we're on is under the business redevelopment. Through a number of the initiatives, we're in contact with real estate professionals, investors from outside of the community, and a lot of them were very surprised with the level of investment currently taking place in Thompson. It was identified pretty quickly that we needed a bit of a marketing strategy to broaden the message about the opportunities related to specifically investment in Thompson. And so we're planning an event in Winnipeg for next week, and it's titled Emerging Economic Opportunities in the Future of Thompson. It's a presentation or it's an event that we're coordinating with cooperation from Valet, and targeting specifically people in the finance field, real estate, and legal fields as influencers of investment decisions in Thompson and elsewhere. And it's really just about raising awareness. And so we're putting a lot of our effort right now this month into making sure that is a successful event. One of the items that's come from a lot of our consultations and work with our committees has been the need for a broad marketing strategy, something that complements the destination marketing strategy that's being undertaken by the tourism industry here in Thompson. We see that we want to have a marketing strategy that complements and works with that. And as well, as I mentioned, we're working to increase our promotion of the community both online and offline.
Okay, as you all should know, if you don't, the Northern Workforce Development Center opened in June. It was announced by the Manitoba government. Kind of picture upper left there is Ryan Land and Doug Lofstad signing off on a letter of understanding between Valet and UCN. I guess two pieces of work that Thompson 2020 really assisted and pushed along and helped was both of those from a provincial perspective and also from a Valet UCN perspective. As you know, when you sign a document, countless hours went in behind the scenes. So Thompson 2020 was a big supporter of what happened that day, and from that day forward for Thompson. Also in that picture is a operator that's being trained in a drill simulator in Winnipeg. And one of the things we're trying to do and help support it through the Northern Workforce Development Center is various trainers local to Thompson. One of the problems we have, or could have, and we're trying to avoid, is not have the trainer local to Thompson. So, next slide. These slides mean more to me than, with all due respect, Doug and Ryan. But this is really nice that the first top picture is Class 1 driver training graduates. So we took 8 affected local employees and got them trained up, and they became graduates and truck drivers and are all gainfully employed. We've also done several security guard classes, core safety training, class 5, train the trainer, and a heavy equipment operator, train the trainer. So we're positioned well, again, with trainers local to Thompson. Upcoming, we see a repeat. Again, we feed off the job fairs, so it kind of works hand in hand with truck driver, class 1 driver training, several intakes planned for the fall. Industrial skills training, flagging certification is happening this week, Wednesday, at Northern Workforce Development Center. Front-end loader training and forklift training will be developed and should be in Thompson July, August of this year. So a lot of effort, a lot of support there.
Under the community amenities project, one of the initiatives is to look at lifestyle housing, which is a sort of a catch-all category for cottage lot development, rural residential, and large lot development. And we had a committee of citizens come and throw some ideas together, look at what they're interested in, and our view is that we want to get these products onto the market so that if there's a market for them, the market will drive it. Our objective isn't necessarily to have, we'd love to have the land developed, but a first step is to get them on the market. So the two that you see here, both are drawn out, but they're conceptual drawings only. They don't mean that we have decided on a plan. Our approach would be that either a developer or a co-op of property owners would come together and they would develop their own conceptual or their own development plan. So we're not recommending that we drive that. So these are our two areas. One is off the golf course road and another is off of the horse stable road for two distinct sort of styles of development. We've made a number of detailed recommendations to the Development Review Committee of the city. Those parcels are both within the city of Thompson. There will be actions that will be required by the city in order to make those a reality and get those available. Our hope is that we can run a request for proposal and have it completed by the fall so that a potential developer can have winter construction season to start doing work on those lands. And so we're not putting the pressure on the city. The recommendations have really just gone to development review. We stand ready to help in any way to help them work through those options. The third one is a process outside of the city boundaries where it's a different process. It doesn't require as many actions by the city, but the map is a little bit hard to understand. It's oriented the wrong way. North points right on this map, not up. But trust me, it's an area north of Paint Lake that is boat accessible to Paint Lake, that we have submitted on behalf of Thompson 2020 an application process for purchase of land. Our main goal there is to get ahead of the curve in terms of the circulation process and the process for Crown Lands to clear a parcel of land before it's available for sale. That process takes a while. I've heard a minimum 6 months, and so we wanted to get that in. When we're further down that, we have a better understanding of what issues there are, then we see Thompson 2020 running an RFP similar to the one for the other parcels for a developer to take that on and develop lakefront cottage development. I'll talk about the first one on this one, cryptocurrency. We have really just been sort of involved in a support role. We've advised the city that this might be an opportunity, and the city acted quickly, and I want to thank you for that in amending the zoning bylaw to accommodate that as a potential use in the industrial zone. And we worked with Valet on a request for proposals to see what interest there was. We interviewed potential developers who were interested in using the surplus power for cryptocurrency mining and data centers. And basically the parties who were screened and qualified through that process are now working directly with Valet, and that's a process that we're not directly involved in. That's between Valet and the proponents. So we're hopeful that something will come out of that, some other investment in the community.
Quickly on the greenhouses, there's really two components here. The picture shows a kind of a backyard unit with a heat sink feature that they're manufactured here in Thompson. First two units are going to be installed at R.D. Parker High School this week and next. And secondly, the greenhouse classroom is an emerging project that Thompson 2020 would like to support. The city's already given a letter of support. Totally different in scope and nature. It's also a heat sink with some bricks that, what's the term? I've forgotten it now. Lost it. Yeah, hold heat, sorry. Anyway, enough said on that. We'll have more announcements and kind of further input on that one coming shortly.
Thank you. That's our presentation. We'd be happy to take any questions.
First of all, thank you very much. You guys are making some great accomplishments. In terms of the Emerging Economic Opportunities Conference in Winnipeg, were you thinking of taking, I know it's in conjunction with Valley, are you thinking of taking anybody with you, such as the Thompson Hotel Association, or anybody from our transportation sector or construction sector? I have 3 questions, by the way.
With one. Yes, through our committee that is advising us on Project 3, we've identified a number of people there'll be a delegation down there. There will be Thompson ambassadors that are very representative of the community.
Next question is regarding the marketing strategy. Travel Manitoba, I believe you were at that workshop as well, is taking you through a very intensive process. I'm just wondering, when you say we need a marketing strategy, is it going to be tied into that one so that we're not reinventing the wheel and having yet another series of workshops?
So absolutely. Understand that the Travel Manitoba supported initiative is looking at Thompson as a destination marketing, and that's obviously, if you were to draw a circle of the marketing strategy, Thompson as a destination would be a subset of that, right? But it's not the whole strategy. A big part of that strategy would revolve around just making sure that we're projecting images about Thompson as an opportunity for investment, not just tourism, but investment. Just general attitudes and responses about Thompson, which currently, depending on where you look, isn't always that positive. It doesn't tell that whole story. So very much so, we would see it be complementary to that and not duplicate that effort.
And the last question, how many trainers are you training under the Train the Trainer program?
Depends on which topic, Penny. The heavy equipment, we only have one local right now. We'd like to have several. Obviously, it's easier if you have one to grow that. So we're just starting, but we want to have at least one locally for pretty much everything we do.
Engaging residents in your survey, is the survey done now, or are you still looking for residents to complete it?
The survey online, I've closed it, so I'm now analyzing that portion of information. What I'm doing now is conducting interviews with, I've selected, a few people.
What if you were a member of a group and you wanted to be one of your focus groups? Is there still an ability for that, or is that done too?
There's still an ability to do that.
And that would be contact Thompson 2023 website?
Contact me and I will set that up, yes.
And my last question is in regards to your event next week. Why Winnipeg?
We've had that question a lot, Councillor Valentino. The reality is, and this comes from conversations with a number of folks, especially in the finance field, investment doesn't happen without having someone outside of Thompson green light that, whether it's at the banks or whether it is whether or not potential investors even get shown that option by commercial real estate developers. One of the things I didn't mention is that we do want to have a follow-on event similar to that in Thompson. But there was a pretty urgent need that came from a number of conversations that with different players. This came from a number of different directions. That really the view about Thompson was in those groups that I identified. The prevailing view was that Thompson was turning into a ghost town, and they were floored when we talked about reinvestment in the community taking place. I mean, it's a pretty big story. $160 million of investment identified in Thompson this year. The bulk of it from the private sector. That message isn't out there. When you break down where that investment is happening, retail sector, service sector, transportation is a huge one. And it's, I hate to use the word perimeteritis, but that's just one of the barriers that we come up against. And so we're getting very good response from people who want to know what the Thompson story is, and they're not going to go out and find it. We need to go and make this presentation. That's certainly what we feel. We're not going to find them here. I think it's part of a broader initiative. The Manitoba Chambers of Commerce are also going to arrange a northern tour next year, and we'll be right in on that. But we think that there's value in having a specific Thompson presentation.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very interested about the meeting that you guys going to have it next week. From what I heard, that means you already have appointment with the investor group or some whatever different sector that you guys going down there to meet them, to sell Thompson what we have, what value for them to come here to invest. And am I right or am I wrong, that part?
Yeah, you're right. We've set up that appointment already. We've identified people that are influencers of those decisions in the Winnipeg market and in real estate and in finance. We've used local contacts through the folks who have come forward for our Project 3 committee, and they've talked about, for example, in the finance industry, they've talked about who they need to see see that presentation, and we've sort of put feelers out through the folks who we've been dealing with on the cryptocurrency and on other developments. So we've developed an invitation list to bring people together for a presentation.
So does that mean you already have a meeting with, going to have a meeting with a group of people, or you going separate individually?
It'll be a presentation with a group with follow-ups individually to those people who participate.
Okay, my other question is, Keisha going with you guys or no?
Yes.
Thank you.
Clara.
Yes, thanks. The cottage lot development across the river, is that surveyed? You're showing a drawing there. Is that a drawing based on a survey?
Yeah, no, none of those have been surveyed.
Okay.
Those are conceptual plans that would be a step that people would go to before they survey. But those no lots have been surveyed. The developer will decide what they want to build based on what they think the market is. And so that'll come forward through the request for proposal process.
Question. Okay. You talked about purchasing cottage lots at Paint Lake. Are you talking about purchasing a group and or land and then reselling it, or how? You mentioned purchasing at Paint Lake, a request for proposal. What? Can you elaborate, please?
Sure. So Thompson 2020, in order to start the review process of the province, has applied for the purchase, so that they've started their circulation process. To there's a list of groups that they will consult with before making the decision. We wanted to start that process because it takes several months. In the meantime, we will prepare a request for proposals for either a private developer to do that and purchase that land from Thompson 2020, or take over that process partway through. It'll either be a developer or else a cooperative. We'll hold a public meeting to explain what that process is. It could be that a number of cottagers want to be the developer, and they want to put together a proposal and develop it as a cooperative. There have been examples of both of those. There have been examples of cooperatives doing that, like a group pulling together and managing the project themselves. all three of those parcels that I showed you, our recommendation will be that they be open to that same process where you're looking for a developer or a cooperative to come forward. And they may have different criteria for each one in terms of what's the most important thing you want to measure in terms of selecting who is the successful proponent.
Okay, I guess I misunderstood because I was thinking that you were saying that 2020 was going to purchase. And my next question then was going to be, do you have that much funding that you can purchase cottage lots and resell them? But that's not the intention.
Well, in order to start the process, we had to fill out an application for purchase.
I see.
We don't know where it's going to end, but we wanted to get some lines on a map and get them circulated in that process. That's really we don't know exactly how we're going to find our way out of that tunnel, but we want to get it started. We're hopeful that as an interim measure, when we do the RFP, that there will be a strong response. And I think that'll be how that will end, is it'll be a developer taking over.
And that's something that you'll communicate at your breakfast next week, I would assume.
Better believe it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you for the information.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation. Look forward to the meeting next week, and thank you again.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have a great summer.
Now moving into